Couple people joining in on YouTube, going live.
I got a couple questions in here on YouTube that I have up as well.
Yeah.
Speaking of YouTube, the recent video a little more, I guess, I mean, it's business related, but a little more personal, right? Like a day in the life video. Haven't made one of those before. I mean, was that fun making that, or was it like, I mean, because obviously, like, you didn't have somebody following you around all day doing it, right? Like, you were like acting through the things that you did, throughout the day, obviously. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like you're very routine based. Like, I watched a couple seconds of that, and like, you're so much more routine based than I am. I'm just like, I don't know, a little more sporadic.
Yeah.
Probably isn't good.
Yeah,
I should probably be,
It was fun. It was pretty fun making.
Yeah. If I do that, it's gonna be like just the complete opposite. It's gonna be like I'm gonna be all over the place.
Well, you started getting up real early, right?
I did, yeah. I used to, like I was saying, I used to, because I like, I've told you this obviously, but I just, like, I sleep so deep, like I just don't wake up. So my way of compensating for that used to be just going to bed stupid early and waking up stupid early. So even if I slept in like 3 hours, like I was still on time for stuff. Like even now, like that's why, like, as you know, like I don't take meetings before like 11 o'clock in the morning, just on the off chance that I just don't wake up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all good. Everybody's got their, schedule.
Yeah.
Shit still gets done, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think as long as it works for the individual person, that's really all that matters at the end of the day, because everybody is different. I think it works more to be a morning person, but
Yeah. A couple people joining on X. Yeah, so if you guys are joining, pop in some questions if you have them. Do a live 30-minute Q&A. Amazon related questions. You said you had a few questions from the channel. You want to pop those up in the comments box there?
Yeah. Can I do that? I don't know if I can do that. I think you might need to. I'm not logged in here. I could just say the question. But basically it's relating to like a professional account on Amazon. So like creating a professional versus an individual account, and what the difference is and like why you would create one or the other.
Yeah. So, I mean, you definitely want to create a professional account, right? Even if you don't even if you're doing a side hustle, like I would just recommend getting a professional account. You have access to way more features. Amazon charges $1 per unit sale on an individual plan. So if you sell more than 40 items in a month, then mathematically it makes more sense to go with the professional plan, because the professional plan is $40 a month flat fee. Individual plan is $1 per unit sale, plus obviously the selling fees that are associated with that. So yeah, I mean, even if you're just starting, $40 is not a lot to start a business, right? I would recommend just going straight away for the professional plan.
I mean, I don't really even understand why they have the individual plan, to be honest. I mean, I guess it's because like you won't get a physical charge. It's like the free trial, to explore Seller Central and whatnot before you wind up really making a commitment. But like at the end of the day, I feel like going with straight away with the professional plan makes the most sense. But also, where'd you go?
I literally don't even know what happened.
I was saying like it just makes more sense on the basis of, even if you're doing this as a side hustle, like you're going to be selling more than 40 items. So might as well just go for it.
Yeah. My Nino is joining. What's going on, man? Nice to see you. As a new Amazon seller, how would you approach distributors since you don't have a lot of history and capital? They won't mess with brand new companies like that.
Yeah, we kind of got a similar question on last week's live where someone was asking if they were newer, right? And like, I mean, the truth is, what brands usually don't care about that most of the time. Like, that's not one of the things that they really look for too much.
Yeah, that's one of those things that newer sellers get fixated on. That really doesn't matter that much. It's like your store name on Amazon. Sometimes we'll see newer sellers get fixated on what they should name their store because they want to look super professional to brands. But at the end of the day, those things really don't matter much at all. If you present yourself professionally to brands and distributors, and you're opening accounts, or you're going to open accounts with suppliers, and you're articulate, you're well spoken, you represent yourself as an e-commerce company, not just an Amazon seller, then those things are going to be what secures you the account over any sort of history that selling history or products in your portfolio, things like that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And honestly, again, you can get some larger accounts that might still be reaching out with template, cookie cutter emails, right? So don't discount yourself for being a smaller quote unquote seller. Like it's not a big deal. And if you get into a brand exclusive relationship, right, like you're immediately going to just catapult your success on Amazon, regardless of if you're brand new. So and it kind of goes off of another question that I was just reading here off of the YouTube channel that was saying, like, if you're just starting out, you have a brand new Amazon seller account, kind of like you're saying, does it matter? Like, should you check the seller's reviews on the products when you buy, when you're going to buy them, contact the brands? Like if there's a seller with, 100,000 reviews on the product, do you stay away from that product to reach out in the outreach process?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going a little bit too far down the road before really at the end of the day, it's about just looking at several metrics that are associated with the product that you're analyzing, right? And you can look at Keepa to see historical sales volume, historical price, and historical competition. And those are the main factors that you want to look at in terms of doing product research. I wouldn't fixate yourself on specific store reviews or things like that. I would just, focus on the actual quality of the products. That said, when you're sourcing a store that has way more reviews, then you just got to bear in mind they might get a higher percentage of the buy box, just something to kind of be aware of going into it. And as far as product reviews go, that really doesn't matter much at all, as long as, again, those three factors those boxes are checked off: historical volume, historical price, historical competition. And if you guys are confused by any of that, in terms of qualifying products and doing product research, there's tons of videos on the channel on, exactly how to find profitable products.
Yeah. So that is, are you selling in the UK? Would be my first question. I would assume so, if you're getting that question. So if you could just clarify that one. But I mean, these are quite, like, obviously if you need a VAT registration, then that's something that you need to have if it's required. But how much you're willing to spend, I think it's an interesting question from a distributor or a brand, right?
Yeah, generally, we don't see that kind of a question right out of the gate. Distributors might be more inclined to ask that question. But you got to be careful, like, if you find that, the brand or the distributor or whatever is, really fixated on getting a lot of money out of you in the beginning before you guys have even, started talking about anything related to the relationship, you might want to proceed with caution a little bit.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's funny how like you just get this, obviously we've done this a lot, right? So you get this intuitive sense, and I immediately kind of raises a red flag a little bit for me, just even seeing that how much you're willing to spend. Not a red flag, but just like kind of proceed with caution at that point, just because I think it's a little odd that they're so focused on the transaction right up front. So I'd be careful with that, especially if it's a brand. If it's a distributor, they're a little more focused on volume, so I get it. But I think the phrasing of the question might be a little bit different, as in like, for you to ask what their minimum order is or something like that. But how much you're willing to spend is a little bit of a odd way to put it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then if you were starting again from scratch, how would you raise capital to start in a proper way?
Yeah, I mean, I'm real passionate about this. I talk about it a lot when we do these kinds of lives and different things. And that's a big question, right? At the beginning, is that like, how do you, how much money do I need, basically? And I think that it's really overlooked at the fact that you really don't need a lot of money to do wholesale. You know, at the maximum, a couple $1,000s, 5,000 maybe, right? But I don't even think that you need that much. And I say that obviously you need money to buy product, but I talk about it a lot from the perspective of like, if I was to start again, I mean, Brad, I don't know about you, but like I wouldn't want to start any differently than we did, because if I knew what I know now, I would want to raise as much capital as I possibly could. But if I was starting from scratch, not knowing anything, I mean, I think it's a real dangerous play to have a ton of capital and no knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with that. When you first start in a new, online business venture like Amazon FBA, there's a lot of complexities that you're just not aware of, right? And there's a lot to be said for going through that process and learning and understanding and learning from your mistakes. And you don't want to make mistakes with tens of thousands of dollars, right? You're better off making mistakes with, like, I mean, we started doing arbitrage with, a few $100s. Like, you're better off making mistakes with, a few $100s than you are with tens of thousands, right? And so that's not to say you need to start an arbitrage. And, for many people, I would actually recommend just jumping right into wholesale or brand direct wholesale. So that said, 2 to 5K is a pretty healthy amount to get the ball rolling. It's not gonna, you're not gonna inject 2 to 5K and build a multi-million-dollar business. But what you're going to do is you're going to invest 2 to 5,000. You're going to spread it across several different wholesale accounts. You're going to make an investment into different products. And then eventually you're going to get to a point where you're using the house's money, where you're basically just rinsing and repeating the profits from that you make from your Amazon business in order to fund your business, so that you don't have to keep digging into your own pockets to fund the business, that you're just playing with the money that from the profits that you're making on your sales. And so 2 to 5K, definitely a good starting amount. You could start with more, obviously, but just when you start creeping up 10-20,000, just you got to make sure you're still invest it conservatively, because you don't have all those skill sets yet within Amazon.
Yeah, the important thing is to learn all of the knowledge as fast as you can at the beginning. That's the way that I think we always like to reframe it whenever the discussion of how much money do I need to start gets brought up, is look at it as like, how fast can I learn this information, and then worry about the money after.
Yep. And next point here is, do you guys do mentoring one-on-one? Yes, we do. We have a private mastermind. I'll go ahead and link um, the form below. Check out operationamz.com/start. And you can go ahead and see if you qualify there for our program.
Yeah, and it's cool. I mean, you say, in the UK as well, which I was actually just talking to her a little while ago. One of our one-on-one members that is also in the UK, was just talking to me today, and I'm literally quoting right here. She might be watching right now. So says, I'm really excited for 2026. I feel like it's going to be a whole new chapter and a fresh vision for my business. Right. So, and same exact path, right? It's like, watch the, I mean, you're saying here in the chat about the YouTube and watching the videos and all of that. It's kind of the same exact framework, right? And then we go to the implementation element, which is kind of the path that she's taken. And I think we've been able to reframe some things for her and provide that direct support. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've been doing RA and OA for a while, and then you started Wholesale 5 months ago. And so, as Brandon pointed out, that's where many of our clients, begin their journey is arbitrage, and a lot of issues with arbitrage, right? Product gating, IP claims, account health violations, right? So you just want to be, and you want something more sustainable, right? And that's really what you get with Wholesale, especially brand direct. So, if you are interested, feel free to check out that link, operationamz.com/start. You'll book a call with one of us and we'll see if it's a good fit.
Yeah. And I just grabbed my phone because I wanted to touch on something from Twitter today. Because I think it'll start a conversation surrounding outsourcing and things like that, right? So whenever we tweet anything about arbitrage, people like to be not so nice, which I always find funny. But I tweeted something with an Amazon policy that came out, which I don't know if you saw it. I made a post about it. Basically, like they're getting rid of the commingled inventory. So if you're selling on Amazon, right, you have the little stickers that you put on the product. They are getting rid of that. And if you're on the brand registry, you're able to use manufacturer's barcode without it being the risk of being commingled with somebody else's inventory. So all of that to say, like, it's a step forward in the right direction for those that are partnering with brands. And it's just another like clear sign that Amazon is pushing people to work with the brands directly. But someone commented on the post and said, tell me you're too lazy to add an FN SKU label without telling me you're too lazy to add an FN SKU label. Right. So I just wanted to kind of go off of that comment about like prep and like outsourcing, and I wanted to respond that we haven't prepped a product in years ourselves, but like, what does that look like for someone if FN SKUs, like prep, like all of that? I mean, when should that be outsourced in the process usually, or like what should be the first thing that should be outsourced?
Yeah, that's usually probably one of the first things you want to outsource is stickering product. I mean, I can't think of a lower value task than stickering product, right? I mean, obviously it's important, it's got to get done, but for you as a business owner, you're taking up a tremendous amount of time, not just from what you're currently doing, but what you potentially could be, how much you potentially could be growing your business with the time that you're spending stickering product. And so I would highly recommend removing yourself from that process as soon as possible. And whether it's a prep center, whether it's, well, if you're in the beginning, it's probably a prep center, or, a warehouse, but generally for beginners, it's going to be a prep center.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, again, with that policy change, like it's, it might sound like it's a little bit more granular and like detailed, but the reality is, like, when you break it down in plain English, it's really just Amazon pushing people to be working with the brands directly or be the brands themselves. And we see that over time. So if you're like listening to this and you're doing arbitrage, or and you're like, I don't know if this is the right move. I mean, we see every day, we see things where Amazon is pushing people in this direction.
Yeah. Yeah. They're constantly making policy changes, just like you had explained, and shifting. And so, yeah, transparency codes was the reason you moved away from RA and OA, as many others have. Wouldn't it be nice to be on the other end of those transparency codes, right? That's kind of that's what you can do as a brand partner, is you can actually be the one receiving the transparency codes directly from the brand so that you can sell their products on Amazon, and that's exactly what we teach how to do. So Tommy joining us again. Welcome back. Hi guys. How's Q4 going? So yeah, Q4 is booming as always, doing very, very well. November and December are some of our best months of the year. It's all a byproduct of preparation. The rest of the 9-10 months of the year, right? So we're buying our inventory from our suppliers, we're placing pre-orders, we're getting our inventory ready, our warehouse is prepping all the products, in September, October, getting it ready for the holidays, and then things, internally start to slow down November and December, but sales-wise, they're obviously up because traffic is super high on Amazon. But how's it going for you, Tommy? How's Q4 going? And tell us where you're at.
So the future of wholesale is working with brands only.
Well, I don't speak in absolutes, right? There's not, there's no one size fits all policy. As much as we push brand direct, we push it for good reason, because Amazon is, strict, and you want obviously a sustainable business that you can count on, for years to come. You don't have to, you don't want to worry about the lights getting shut off one night because Amazon, pulls the rug out from under you. But at the end of the day, it's not just the future, it's the now, right? You just brought up a very good example of Amazon pushing more towards brands. And if you want a sustainable and scalable business, one that you don't have to worry about, all these problems that come with the instabilities of something like arbitrage, then it is not just the future, it's the now, right? And so that's, that would be my input.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like, we're not, as much as we are biased towards brand direct wholesale, because it's what's allowed us to have freedom of time and financial freedom, all that stuff. But it's not the only model that works on Amazon. It's not, private label works, wholesale through distributors works, arbitrage works to an extent, right? Like, you can scale it, but there is some risk associated. But at the end of the day, for us, that has been the thing that has catapulted our success on Amazon. And when you look at it from a risk evaluation standpoint, it's really the thing that has the least amount of risk for the most amount of stability. And so if you are trying to kind of decide, look at the pros and cons and say, look at your business and what you want it to be, and how stable you want it to be, and the income, and how much you want to work, and all of that, right? And brand direct wholesale checked all those boxes for us. And we see the industry, again, going that way, from Amazon's policies to other sellers in the space going more to brand direct. So as Brad said, it is the now, but I think it also, you have to look at it in comparison to how you want your business to be. And it checks those boxes. So
yeah, and you can buy from authorized distributors. Like, nothing's saying you can't buy from authorized distributors, right? In fact, we teach that, like, buy from authorized distributors too. It's not one or the other. Make brand direct the bulk of it, and then, boost your business with buying through authorized distributors. Obviously, you want to be authorized to sell on Amazon too. And so that's, regardless, wholesale itself, as long as you're buying authorized and legitimate inventory, wholesale is definitely the, path to go, as opposed to arbitrage, in my opinion, just because, like, there's a bunch of instabilities with arbitrage. So
Tommy says, as I'm going to start Amazon wholesale in January with very low investment, around 5K, any advice you'd suggest for me? Anything relating to reinvesting or something like that?
Yeah, so Tommy, I think you might have just jumped on here. We were just talking about starting capital amounts, and we had said that the best bet is actually $2,000 to $5,000 to invest in inventory to start. So that's going to be a healthy enough number for you. In fact, if you start with a, a great deal more than that, you actually run the risk of making a bad investment because you might not have all the pieces yet dialed in and a full understanding, right? And so that's why we always say to place test orders. Even if you think the products are going to sell, place small test orders in the beginning just to make sure they sell. And starting with 2 to 5,000 is definitely a healthy amount to start with. I mean, in arbitrage, we started with a few $100 years ago, scaled that up. But yeah, I think, you're saying it's a low investment, but I don't know if I would agree with that. I think that's 5K is a healthy starting amount. And that's where I would recommend starting.
Yeah, Tommy, we were saying before too, like the knowledge that you gain in the beginning is substantially more important than the amount of capital you start with. Find a way to gain the knowledge as fast as you possibly can. That's where you need to be, because then you'll be able to make more informed decisions with that capital.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. And Tommy, we have seen you on here several weeks now on these lives. We do have personalized one-on-one coaching within our mastermind. So I previously dropped the link here. It's operationamz.com/start. If that is something of interest to you, feel free to check out that link and you'll jump on a call with one of us. We'll see if it's a good fit and if you qualify for the program.
If you don't mind answering, how much did you start with? Who's going here? I got the underdog position. What did you start? Just for reference, right? Like we started in arbitrage. We started in arbitrage separately, so we had different starting points. You said a few hundred.
Yeah, we said a few $100s before. Yeah.
I mean, that was I had I started with nothing. I started with I've told that story so many times that I'm not going to tell it again. But yeah, I started with $20 and just didn't know what I was doing. And you find your way somehow, right? As long as you don't give up, I think you find your way. So if I could do it with $20 and Brad could do it with a few hundred, right? Like you can do it. It's not about the starting capital. It's about, again, the mindset, the motivation, the determination to do it, and then getting the knowledge. Because Brad, imagine if you had the knowledge now and then started with that same amount of money. Totally different, right? Totally different.
Yeah. It's like saying, when you're older, like if I could go back to when I was 20, knowing what I know now type deal.
Yeah.
What's up, Kanan? With authorized distributors, how to handle LOA thingy they asked for.
Yeah, so if you're trying to get an LOA, you need to get that from the manufacturer, the owner, the brand. So that's something that usually has to be submitted to Amazon, even if the distributor is authorized, or you need to if you can't get in touch with the brand directly, you need to get that redacted information from the distributor saying that they're authorized by the brand to submit to try both of those. Depends what the issue is, though. If it's like a trademark issue or if it's, inauthentic complaint, something like that. Just depends what the problem is, but that's the two ways to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ken, it says, last time I let you guys know that I had a meeting with a brand owner for semi-exclusivity. They're still not pursuing, even if we buy $200K per quarter to work on the listings. How do I proceed with them? It's an interesting question there.
Yeah, that entirely depends on what the brand's pain points are. So, I mean, we don't have full context.
Example of that.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have full context into that situation, so it's not something we can directly advise on. But generally you want to frame this as understanding what the brand's pain points are and matching solutions to that, because you might be able to throw $1 million at them a quarter and that won't mean anything to them, right? It all depends on what the brand cares about, what matters to them, right? We got brands that people could, sellers could submit $1 million purchase order and they would deny it, right? Because of the systems and how they want their brand protected, right? And the things that we're already addressing as brand partners, so make the focus on what their challenges are. Don't just throw money at them.
Yeah, exactly. Super important. It just goes to show you, like, it depends on what the brand is motivated by versus a distributor. And there are some brands that no matter how much money you throw at them, that doesn't matter, because that's not their pain point, like Brad said. And that is one of the key differences between brand direct and distributors.
Yeah. Yep. So we're about 5 after 6:30 right now. So if you guys have any last minute questions, drop them in the chat here. And we'll be wrapping up here momentarily. But we do go live every week, Tuesday, 6 o'clock. And if you guys haven't watched the recent sourcing video, it's a good one, teaching you how to find profitable products. Go ahead.
There's some good products on there.
Go ahead and link that down here. Check that out if you haven't seen that video yet.
And contact the brands, go ahead and contact the brands. But I think more importantly than even contacting the brands is learning and understanding the process, because then you're not just going to get 5 brands from the video. You're going to get, 500 brands from understanding how to actually do it. So.
Yeah, exactly.
And at the buzzer, Jacob popping in.
Yeah. What's up, Jacob? We are signing off here. But he's saying he's back on the call and grind. That's good, Jacob. Good to have you in and good to see your progress. For sure. Got any last minute words here?
600K goal the next year in sales. I think it's attainable. I really do.
Yeah.
600K, Jacob, you're going to be there. It's every, actually the last minute word on that, right? I just want to reference that with what Jacob said. So Jacob is part of our, mastermind, and he posted something the other day, which I can pretty much quote it, where he was like, I'm stuck at a certain point and like, I want to scale up. Right. So I think one of the hardest things to do in general, like life, right, is like when you need something to like reach out, because people are like, I think I'm weak or I'm this or I'm that, right? Like to reach out for help when you need it. And we had within less than 48 hours, 3 different people that responded with how to get past that roadblock, right? Super helpful. Like that alone, I mean, the value in that is more than you realize, right? If you can get a specific problem solved in your business, and let's throw up all the stuff on the screen that Jacob's saying right now, as he's yelling at all capitals,
referencing that.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's huge having a multiple people in a community and, experts being able to weigh in, right? We talked about this before. It's like, not everybody has business partners. And one of the biggest benefits, and you don't need a business partner, but one of the biggest benefits of having a business partner is the fact that you're able to bounce ideas off of somebody else. You're able to, get input on different things. And so because of that, when you immerse yourself in a community of other like-minded people, and you're surrounded by a mastermind, what that accomplishes is it almost accomplishes like having if you had a business partner, right? Somebody weighing in on some of the, hey, this is a good idea, this is a bad idea, right? Hey, I had experience doing this, and so that's exactly what, we're what's going on, inside of our mastermind. And so, that being said, like I said it already, I'll say it again. OperationAMZ.com/start. Go ahead and check out that link. Book a call with one of us. See if you qualify. See if it's a good fit. And we'll talk soon. Thanks for
Awesome.
watching, guys.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.
Peace out.